So we finally have some news whenever it comes to War Thunder. We probably went through one of the largest content droughts, I do have to say, within my War Thunder history of playing this game. And that is, we've had the Yak 3 event, which I don't really think many people cared about, but other than that, we've only had one changelog, and we had a couple of other things talking about, how they banned some people. But we now have a community manager discussion, which we will be going over in this video, which I think is actually kind of interesting because it goes over what they're kind of planning to do. It also goes over stuff that is actually getting delayed, which once again is very, very sad. And then we also get to see kind of what will the new internal modules be for vehicles like the US-38. So let's get on into the video. So to start out, this post is made by Magazine 2, which is a community manager for Gaijin. It seems like this is going to be something that they start doing to kind of break up the monotony of different, dev blogs and sort of stuff like that. It's kind of their way of giving us more information whenever it comes to War Thunder, and I honestly think it's a pretty good thing. But at the end of the day, you do have to realize that these people are employed by Gaijin, so a lot of the things that they're going to talk about are in PR speak, and we'll see it in this dev blog or this forum post that they posted as well. It'll be in the description if you do want to read it yourself. So the first thing to talk about is how this is not really replacing dev blogs or anything like that. It's kind of just a secondary thing to give us more information on. But the thing that they want to really talk about first is that the research bonuses are being delayed once again. Now, what they say within this dev blog or within this forum post is that the research bonuses are being delayed because of internal reasons, and then also they don't want to introduce it with the next major update just because, it is what it is, and we'll talk about it in a second. But as we know, they talk in PR speak whenever it comes to this. They're not going to tell you guys the real reason of why they do not want to put this in yet, and the reason is that they're still not sure on how to make this completely fair to where they still make money, and then you don't feel like it's cheated you in a way because the research bonuses aren't that special. They also talk about how they want to keep it separated from the major update, and as we know, the new major update coming in, this is also something they mentioned within this forum post, is that Fox 3 missiles will finally be coming to aircraft. And we know that a lot of the aircraft that's going to be receiving those missiles are already currently in the game, like the F-16C, you have the Gripen, you have a bunch of different aircraft like the Su-27, the MiG-29s that will all receive these missiles, and they're already in the game. So imagine that they introduce this new research change with this new major update where the content is based around aircraft that is already within the game, and many of these aircraft are copy-paste vehicles, whether it be something within the Japanese texture like the F-16, whether it be the MiG-29s is for Hungary now. There's a bunch of different aircraft that for different nations are just copy-paste from major nations, and we know that, that's one of the biggest things that this is supposed to help is whenever you're playing another tech tree where you have similar aircraft, you will be able to research them faster. So it's honestly very sad that's still not coming. I just wish that they would tell the real reason, not that it's like they're having trouble for it or anything like that. They just don't know how to put it in without it just seeming like it's completely worthless to players, while also still trying to get people to feel like they need to actually pay money to research stuff within the game. So the next thing they talk about is the separate battle ratings for ground and as well as aircraft whenever it comes to aircraft just in general. So if you didn't know, a lot of vehicles within War Thunder, especially stuff like 810s, Su-25s, they do pretty well whenever it comes to ground forces, but throw them into an ARB game and then they do really bad. The thing that they're trying to fix is that they're giving aircraft a different battle rating whatever game mode that they're currently in. So it is going to be a really huge change. It's going to be very positive because we can now introduce a higher BR for ground for vehicles which perform very well in there, and then we can actually decrease the battle rating for air forces whenever it comes to those vehicles. Now, do I think they're going to decrease like the A-10 and Su-25? No, but this should affect a lot more vehicles. Like for example, the P-47s or vehicles like that are very good within ground will have a higher battle rating there, but whenever we put them into aircraft or in ARB, they will be at a lower battle rating because they're not as great. So honestly, this is just a really good change. The only really downside that I feel like is going to come about from this is that people are going to forget what battle ratings certain things are within ground, and then also what they are in air, and then you might accidentally queue up for a game and you're accidentally in like a 10.0 match whenever your aircraft in ARB is like a 9.3 or something like that. So it is definitely one of those things that's going to be very interesting to just see how it affects the game. It should affect it very, very good, but honestly, it seems like it's coming in a really good update, and it should actually be here before the next major update comes, which will be very cool. So the next thing to talk about is actually introducing a new thing where you're actually able to drag and drop your lineup. So like, let's just say that you played War Thunder whenever you was like 13 in 2013, and you did not really know how you wanted your lineup to be set up, so you just threw all your aircraft everywhere, and then you're kind of just confused of where certain things should be. That was 100% me, but at the same time, it's one of those things that they're going to be fixing to where you're actually able to move your crew around. Overall, it's just a quality of life change. Like we've spent like what 11 years now with the system that currently is now, and they're just now going to it. So I don't think it was like that huge of an issue. I know some people are very OCD about it, but it's just a quality of life thing. And honestly, anytime there's a quality of life update to War Thunder, it's a really positive thing in my opinion. So the next major thing to talk about is actually the 2S38, and as we know, the 2S38 is a very annoying vehicle because you can shoot it and it would do no damage to it. But what they've done now is they've actually introduced some new internal modules to it, to where now whenever you shoot it, it should actually do probably some damage to it. It looks like they've modeled the autoloader. They've also put some batteries, it seems like, in the back of the engine compartment. And for some reason, it looks like they've introduced some like purple items now, which I think are mainly the computer systems. So like the actual thing that locks on the aircraft, and maybe, you know, laser rangefinder and different things whenever it comes to that. It seems like it's going to be pretty cool. The overall like concern that I have with this is not really just the 2S38 because it's a BS vehicle. It's one of those that just takes a lot of shots, but the fact of that they can't do this all at once to every single vehicle. This thing looks insane. Like for example, let's just say that you have the 2S38 where it's getting these new internal modules. Let's just say it makes it really, really bad. And then you have vehicles like the Puma or other IFVs like the Bradley, which do not get these internal modules yet, where they just completely are better because they still have holes within them like the 2S38 had. Like if you look at light tanks within War Thunder, like the M18, you look at the Bradleys, you look at anything that is just lightly armored, you can shoot it and sometimes it does no damage to it. It's not just a 2S38 issue. It's an issue for a lot of vehicles within the game, and whenever they introduce it just to one, it's going to be very concerning for other nations which do not have vehicles. Like the WMA 301, for example, is a vehicle that you can shoot and it just does no damage to because it's completely empty mass within the tank. So yeah, I mean, it's cool, but at the same time, I really wish that they were able to do it to more vehicles at once, just so everyone is on an even playing field whenever it comes to this sort of thing. So the next thing that they talk about is actually the healing of crew, which it seems like they're going for the kind of like, I think the like weakest way to do this, and that is that they're just going to heal over time. So whenever you're just kind of running around the battle, you're just going to heal your crew, which I mean is a positive thing, but I feel like there should be more like stuff you have to do to actually heal your crew, like going to a capture point and, you know, waiting on the capture point and maybe healing your crew. But if you're just able to get shot and then let's say that your crew is like orange or it's almost red and you're just healing from just sitting there and they can also still control the tank and everything, that just seems very arcadey in a way, to me at least. And I don't know, I really think that they should introduce it to where you go to a capture point and then like heal your crew, because the way that they're putting it right now, you're just going to get some plus signs next to your crew members and then it will be able to heal them. So I don't know, it seems very weird in my opinion. So the next thing that they commented on was flight models for the MiG-23 and as well as the MiG-27s. I'm not really going to comment on it because it's not my area of expertise, but at the same time, it's one of those things, it's just reports. You know, they are going to change the actual correct turn rate of it because as they initially put in the flight model of the MiG-23, 27, they had more drag on them because of the missiles that was installed. Like the missiles were assumed to already be installed. So it's just changes like that. I know there's a bunch of bug reports going around right now for different flight models for different aircraft, but at the end of the day, you got to realize that some of these are just, you know, suggestions. Like if you go look at the dude's actual bug reporting like account, you can actually see that some of them have been denied. So it's one of those things. Some of them are considered not a bug. So take that with a grain of salt. Like the F-16A I'm looking at right now, not a bug. Mirage 5, not a bug. It's some of these are acknowledged, but some of them are also just not a bug. So it's definitely someone who, I don't know, is heavily just invested into flight models, I guess, or just have too much time and they're bored. I mean, I understand War Thunder's kind of in a boring state right now, but it's just one of those things. Like, I don't think there's much to comment on that in general. So the next thing you're taking a suggestion on is actually the size of players whenever it comes to ARB. So it's one of those things that's been very pretentious lately of how many people should actually be in an ARB match. I know a lot of people have been very subjective about the 6v versus 16 stuff, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of people wanted to go down to like 8 versus 8, and they don't realize that people can queue up in a group of 4. And let's just say that you have 4 people who queue up and they play a game, and they just win every single game because 8 people with 4 people communicating in Discord, setting up people for energy traps is extremely easy to do. So I don't know, man, it's one of those things that really has to be like noted, that if they reduce player like team sizes, that people would just take over games whenever it comes to playing as a squad. And hopefully that's something that they address, because they're actually willing to actually talk about it. But if that problem is not addressed and they just introduce 8 versus 8, man, that's just going to be terrible. Like, if you want to know exactly what's going to happen, is that you're going to have people spawn in, see that there's a 4 stack on the enemy team, and leave. And there won't be an 8 versus 8. It's going to be like an 8 versus 6 or 8 versus 5, even, just depending on how many people don't want to play. It was a very common thing back in the day playing RRB, is you would see people, because, you know, queue times took a pretty long while to get into a game, so you'd see the same people over and over. And if you're seeing that one side was just completely match fixed and then everyone's just like wanting their KD to be good, they're not going to play that. They just leave the game. People don't care about their win-loss ratio in air. They care about their KD. So I don't know, it's one of those things. I really hope, like, here would be my like quick suggestion of it, is that they introduce a new type of game mode to where squads can match versus squads. So it's the 4 versus 4. I think that would be very perfect for that to happen. And then if you want to play within the regular like matchmaker, you can only queue up with a group of 2. Like, I think that would be a very good compromise, instead of it just being people who want to boost KDs, boost everything. Because if you don't know how ARB works, is that one team can have a group of people actually squatted up while the other team has nothing. So it's not like ground where it tries to matchmake both sides to at least have a group of people. It's not like that. It completely just puts people in as fast as it possibly can go. So, and then to end this video off with a sad note, and I'm going to pray for all you guys whenever it comes to your naval aficionados. The naval event is not coming next. Wow. Who would have been surprised? Naval is probably one of the least played game modes within the game. It's the one area that no one plays and no one cares about, so they're just going to introduce another ground vehicle. Now, I do understand it's very annoying, especially if you're a naval player. You definitely probably wanted to see a new naval battleship, which would have been put into a tech tree. But instead, it seems like they're kind of just throwing tomatoes at you whenever it comes to the next event, and they're just going to put in a new performance, which will be the ground. So another ground vehicle will be coming within the next major event cycle. So honestly, I'm not going to complain. I'd rather have a ground vehicle to begin with. It's going to make me want to play the game some more. And the big thing is, which one is it going to be? Is it going to be a Churchill AVRE? Maybe. Is it going to be a Canadian Leopard 2? Maybe. Who knows? But overall, it's really exciting to see change come to War Thunder. It's really exciting that, you know, a lot of the stuff is actually coming to the game. So overall, I'm really kind of happy about this. Like, I don't really feel like it's huge in a way. Like, it feels like we've had a content drop for a very long time whenever it comes to War Thunder. It's really only been about 2 weeks. So yeah, what do you guys think about this? I know it's very sad that the actual research bonuses aren't coming yet, but hopefully they do come in the future. So hope everyone has a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys in the next War Thunder video.